Alright, so the geometry on this part is kind of complicated. If we take a look at the side view here, we see the profile has got a taper and then a undercut and then a raised flange around here, and the axis is running through the center there. We look inside of it, we see that it's hollow, and then if we go to the other side of it, we see that there is a couple of recesses. There's actually a lot of stuff going on in here. If I turn on the X-ray vision, we see in addition to all that stuff on the outside, there's a notch here and a notch with a half circle cut out down here. So, complicated little piece. Okay, let me slice it open, we'll get a better look at it. Alright, let's have a look here. Okay, so yeah, complicated geometry, right? Taper on the outside, and then a little square cut out here, and then a slot with a rounded end here, and then this corner's got a fillet. Awful lot of stuff going on there. So you're going to draw half of this thing, right? You're going to draw the axis, and then you're going to draw the outline that makes up the shaded in part on the top there. Okay, it's the part that would be hatched if we were making this a section drawing. Looking over at the instructions or the drawing that we're going to build this off of on page 192, we see one of the critical dimensions is here. All right, it's the size of the hole going through this thing, and then the outside is baseline dimensioned, so the distance across from one side to the other, like from here to here, is called out with that first dimension. Right, so pay attention to what's being measured. All the dimensions we need are on here, and I know that's a lot of dimensions, but I think you'll be all right. What's kind of new and exciting maybe is detail views. There's a couple of detail views on this drawing, and you'll be including some detail views on your drawing too. So what's a detail view? Well, a detail is a close-up. So it says detail B, scale 1 to 1. Well, this is a close-up of an area that's pretty small. It's actually right here. So this circle here with the B on it, we're saying it's too tiny to put the dimension on, so we're going to blow it up, make it bigger, and then add some dimension information there. Okay, and the same thing with detail C. Detail C is up here. That's kind of a tight spot, and there's already a lot of dimensions here. So we're going to go down to here, and we're blowing it up and adding our dimension down there. Okay, so being able to make a detail call out is a good skill to have. How are we going to set this up in AutoCAD? Well, what we're looking for is a front view of the part, and then we're looking for a full section for the side view, and then a couple of details, right? If we look on the next page, we get to see what the finished drawing looks like. It's the front view, it's the full section, it's a couple of details off of that full section, and we're even going to get super fancy and project an isometric of the section up here in the top right corner. So you can do everything except we haven't talked about making a detail view yet. So let's talk about how we do that. Okay, so we're going to start with our model, and then of course we need to see on the layout, what are we working with, what are we starting with. We shouldn't be starting with a viewport. We're going to be starting with a blank layout or a layout on our template that has our title block and border. And then on that home tab, we're going to go base view from model space, grab it, send it over, and then make sure that we are looking dead on to that view, right? Now it's making it 1:4 because I'm on a small piece of paper. You use whatever scale it gives you because later on you're going to change the scale. Okay, and all I really care about to start is this front view. So make sure you got your front view set up, ready to go. When you are done, let's go in there and let's create a full section of the front view. There it is. We even said we were going to get fancy and project an isometric. And there it is. It'll be a little bit smaller than the other views. Okay, so how do we make these detail callouts? Well, detail tool is built in to the ribbon when we pick the view. Here is the tool for making detail views. So you see there's a couple of different kind of details you can make. You can make a circular detail or a rectangular detail. We're going to go to circular detail. And basically give it a click where you want to start and then move it out to where you want it to stop. And now attached to my cursor is a little bubble. And that little bubble is the detail. Okay, I'm going to grab all this stuff and move it up a little bit. Give myself some more room. Good, good. I'll make another detail of this area down here. So detail view. Maybe we'll start it here and pull it out to here. Right, and there is a blown up version of what we were just looking at. And then there we go. All right, so this is how we're going to set up those detail views, right? And of course, if you get a tag automatically generated, you know you're going to have to change the size and the font, the style for the text to the correct one. Your drawing, when it's completely done, is going to look something like this, right? So we'll have our front view, our side view as a full section, our two details. We'll also have our isometric section, and then you'll have all the appropriate dimensioning on the view for the mechanics of what you needed, right? You need all these dimensions to build the part. You will need all these dimensions on your drawing. So that is our tapered bushing assignment. A couple of tricky things that'll just make your life easier. Number one, remember what you're trying to draw. You're trying to draw this profile here. You're trying to draw the outline that defines the final shape. And of course, you're only going to draw half of it. Right? We don't need to draw this side. Draw half the profile and draw the axis, and then you can create your revolution. Make sure this is a polyline so that it revolves as a solid. Now, when you're putting on your dimensions, if you find that something's a little wacky, something's a little bit off, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world. You can go in to a revolution and make some adjustments and changes to them. Especially if we had our solid history button turned on while we were building it. Because here's what I can do. If I select the revolution, I should be able to see the lines that make up the profile we used. And what's kind of cool about revolution is if you find out you made a mistake, you find out there's a problem, what we can do is we can click on that profile. Right, that's the line we used, and you can dynamically change the 3D shape. Here's what I mean. If I grab this and move it up, well, now the whole part just updated. Okay, if you didn't see that, I'm going to do that again. We'll do it in conceptual view so it's easier to see. Watch, if I take this and flare up, oh, see, my whole part is now flared outward instead of upward. You can go in to your shapes after they've been revolved and pull and push and adjust and twist. And if you made a mistake, again, it is possible to go in there and make some adjustments, especially to linear features like these lines. The one that'll be tough is this guy. If you screw this up over here, getting in there and moving stuff around is not going to be that easy. In fact, what I would do, if I were you, if I messed this up, this notch, I would draw a rectangle. I would draw a rectangle here, and I would revolve that rectangle around the axis, and I would fill in the groove you made, union it all together, weld it back together, and then try again. You know, there's really not a lot of options you have for adjusting the location or the size of that notch. Okay, but as you saw, I could grab the grips and then tool things around and tweak things around until they're where they're supposed to be, until they're at the right sizes. Okay, so that is an option. If things go south, you can always go into the revolution and click on the grips and then work with the individual grip points in wireframe mode and make adjustments to the final model. If you take a look over here, do you see where the center point of the half circle is? The center point of the half circle, let me zoom in on it. Center point of the half circle here lines up with the bottom edge right here. So as long as you get this at the right depth, you should be okay. All right. So this is our lecture on revolve parts. This is how we can make and edit revolve parts. We talked a lot about choosing an axis and kind of thinking the process through before we start drawing, so we don't draw things we don't need. And we should be able to go and complete whatever assignments you get for revolutions or for revolve parts, as well as the tapered bushing assignment.